Hello everyone, I'm Ian Smith with fedsmith.com. I wanted to talk to you today about the latest figures from the Office of Personnel Management regarding the backlog of retirement claims. This is important information for any federal employees who have retired recently or are planning to retire soon. And as I'm sure you're aware, the overall size of the federal workforce shrank considerably over the last year because of the number of federal employees who were leaving federal service. And that's been reflected in the backlog figures. But the good news is May had a sharp turnaround from the trends we've been seeing. The backlog hit a record high in February because of so many people leaving again. We've seen unprecedented numbers in the claims backlog, and it's finally turned around. And May continued the trend from the last month or two in an even bigger way. So I was going to go over these figures with you. I've also written an article on this. I'll leave a link in the description to it that goes into a lot more detail, but I wanted to touch on some of the high-level points in this video. And these are some of those high-level figures. May was a remarkable month for OPM in terms of retirement processing. The backlog fell by about 23%, and that's the biggest single drop in 14 years. And it's now at its lowest point since last fall. And you can also see from these figures just how much it's come down in the last 3 months. And that number of over 38,000 claims, that is still a lot. But when you consider it was over 60,000 just at the end of February, it's quite a turnaround. And there is that number on this next slide. You can see it topped 65,000. That's the highest it's ever been. And these are also some of the figures showing just how much the size of the federal workforce has dropped over the course of the last year or so. It's down almost 13% from its peak in 2024, and it's now at just over 2 million. That's still a large federal workforce, but nowhere near the size that it was during fiscal year 24. OPM went through nearly 19,500. You see the figure on the slide there, but that's almost double the previous record for any month of May, I should say, that's on record. The big driver of this has been the introduction of the online retirement application, or ORA for short. OPM introduced that about a year ago, roughly, and it has really sped up the processing compared to the paper claims, the old process. Now, on this next slide, there are some figures here that help really drive home just the striking difference between the digital claims and the paper claims in terms of how long it takes to process them. In the paper processing, average time has been trending up in the last few months. You can see it's peaked in May at 105 days, but it's roughly double the amount of time to process paper claims versus digital. And the good news for anyone who's retiring soon is that more and more claims coming in now are digital. Almost 3 out of 4 claims now are digital. So that should continue based on these figures to speed the process up. For anyone who's actually retiring in the near future, what this means practically impacts interim pay and when you're going to get your full annuity. Interim pay starts within 7 days of OPM receiving your complete application. That's based on OPM's current figures, at least. And interim pay will cover approximately 60 to 80% of your estimated final annuity. As of OPM's current estimates, it takes roughly 3 to 5 months under normal circumstances for the entire process to be completed. Again, that's based on OPM's latest figures. The thing is, though, once OPM has your application, that's when the interim pay estimate starts. Your agency has to process it initially as well, or do their part of the processing before they give it to OPM. And so that's an important detail you have to keep in mind. And it's always important as well when you're submitting your application to make sure it's free of errors. That's probably the single most common thing that OPM is always citing as something that can delay the process, is to eliminate any known errors, because it will slow down the application. We've now had 3 straight months of the retirement backlog trending down, and that's, again, very good news for anyone who's retiring soon or has retired recently. and more claims coming in are digital, and that will speed the process up based on the numbers that we're seeing from OPM. As I mentioned, I have written an article on this. It goes into a lot more detail. So if you're a numbers person, you want to really dig into the numbers, please check that article out on fedsmith.com. There's a link to it in the description. And also be sure to subscribe we've got a free email list on fedsmith.com. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel here for updates, not only on this topic, but on other important matters that can impact you in your federal career. Thank you for watching and have a good day.